All right, what is up, everybody? It is Friday Mastermind. Every Friday, 9 o'clock, we are here to mastermind and help the people that tune into this YouTube channel, Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, who tune into this, have a competitive advantage in the marketplace because you're smarter, you're better, you're more informed. What is up, Todd Bookspan?
Man, I really like that new intro. You're smarter, you're better, you're more informed. We're giving you a competitive advantage. That was like top notch, Dave. I
I
really
just
love that.
pulled that out too. I didn't even think about it. It just happened.
I know
Wow.
that's why I wanted to call it out and say that it was next level. I love being here on Fridays and the fact that I get to not only be here Fridays hanging out with you. Of course, we got our good friend Deborah Burden, of course, our special guest today as well. So it's kind of fun. We were talking a little football rivalry, so let's welcome my favorite Dallas Cowboys fan, Deborah Burden.
I don't know if I should admit that or not. I'm still trying to heal from the playoff game against Green Bay, and history is not in our favor against the Broncos. But you never know. I'm going to be rooting on the Cowboys, and Dak's been playing very well, so we'll see.
Dak has been playing very well. And
Mhm.
and guys, for all the people that have teams that suck or don't do well, love them. Don't just short-term memory. I mean, get over that
Oof.
Super Bowl loss and just take it one game at a time. And the Broncos proved that you can play like absolute shit for 3 quarters. And then the fourth quarter, you can score 33 points and win. So never give up, guys. So we are in the fourth quarter, and I think that Denver Bronco game from last week and just how much they accomplished in the fourth quarter, like says you could do anything. And so I'm super pumped to have Kristin Messerli as our special guest today. I have seen a lot of Kristin lately. We were at Sales Mastery last week in Vegas. By the way, anybody who was at Sales Mastery, I thought it was a complete home run. I actually did a post on LinkedIn and Facebook this week. Meant every bit of what I said. I think it's a really special event to be at. And then for the past 2 days, I've been at the IMB, just got back. And excuse me, not the IMB, the MBA, Mortgage Bankers Association annual event. We had a private party put on by Pink. So literally a couple thousand people in a nightclub watching Pink. It was absolutely mind-boggling good. What's up, Kristin?
What's up? I
What'd you
am,
think about what'd you think
yeah,
about MBA?
I missed Pink, but NBA was incredible. And there were just, it felt like a different energy from past years, even. Like it seemed like they were traveling more and yeah, just really, really great meetings with people. So it was really fun.
So guys, here's how I want to introduce Kristin Messerly. So I said something to the effect of this when I brought her on stage at Sales Mastery, but I do not think there is a single human being or leader that is doing more for financial literacy for the next generation. And let's just call Gen Z. And I know there's a lot of awesome people doing a lot of awesome things and working hard. So I hate to like do that like she's the best. But I mean she really like we are really lucky in the mortgage industry to have Kristin, her heart, but more importantly than that, like the platform that's been built. Like what First Home IQ is today is an incredibly powerful tool where every teacher in America has access to it for free. Every parent has access for free. By the way, every loan officer and realtor has access for no cost or obligation. You don't even need to use the branding. You can just use the platform to bring more first-time home buyers into the market. So Kristen has been getting asked to speak at a lot of sales rallies. By the way, if there's any leaders that do sales rallies and you're looking for speakers, I think in 2026, she's going to be one of the most in-demand speakers in the mortgage industry. You know why? Because she's helping bring more first-time home buyers in the market and she's crushing it with AI. Like how she's using AI for both First Home IQ, how she's using AI just to be the optimal Kristen Messerly, I think is pretty powerful. And she did what was the sales rally? Like the slides that you're going to use in today's call, who did you go speak for?
American Pacific.
So
Yeah.
yeah, they
So
hired her. What was it like you did like 3 sessions for American
Yeah,
Pacific?
there are 4 workshops. I love the way they do this. It's really fun because you get to interact with the audience, and they're incredible people, great culture. But yeah, it was really fun because I put together this as one of the keystones of my speaking over the next year, and really got to workshop this with the APM groups 4 times in a row. So it was fun. But yeah,
Yeah.
one of the things I'm like really excited about right now, related to what you're saying, is just that I've been speaking on reaching the next generation for over 10 years. And starting out, I did a lot of things on empathy and building trust. And that's really what I've spoken on always. But it feels like right now, in the age of AI, and Deborah was just talking about this, that like we're craving connection in a really unique way. And so the way we can combine AI to improve connection, I think, is really important right now.
Yeah, and I don't know if you sent me the slides before or after you presented. I think it was after. I'm like, hey, we talked. I said, how'd it go? What'd you talk about? Send me the slides. And I was like, Kristen, I mean, you've done a lot of great slides, great presentations. And I mean, I've never seen anything better than this. And I go, would you jump on the Friday Mastermind and have a conversational version? So she's not going to just give us a presentation. We're going to have this conversation back and forth. And my hope is that if you're watching this on Zoom and we've got 50 plus people on Zoom, ask questions. We're going to have hundreds of people watching this on Facebook. Ask questions, share takeaways. And if you're watching the recording on YouTube, which hopefully this blows up and a lot of people watch it on YouTube, share your takeaways. Like as a community, let's get smarter, better, so that you have a competitive advantage. So let's go. Kristen, where do you want to start with this whole thing? And by the way, why'd you call it authenticity in an age of AI? Like where'd that headline come from?
I think I've just been thinking so much about how like this level of disconnection that we are, and Deborah said it right before, just that we're more connected than ever, and yet it feels like there's a disconnection. And it kind of, you go on LinkedIn and sometimes it just feels like bots talking to bots. And I started thinking like we're in a unique opportunity where everything is changing. Everyone has all the information, and but what we're craving is connection. And so, everything that I talk about is we can dig into some of the efficiency things, and that's all there. But it's also about like, how do you show up as your most human self, and let AI really accentuate that, and help you expand and scale that.
Cool. Well, let's dig in, and Todd and Deborah, let's trade off. Like I'll ask questions. I'll ask one more question, and then you two figure out which one goes, you know, rapid fire. And remember, community, if you ask questions in chat, we'll put you to the front, unless we don't like your question. Um, just kidding. Just kidding, everybody. Uh, so where do you want to start with these, the slides, the presentation? Like, where do you want to start?
Yeah, so I definitely don't want to just go through all the slides, but I think it would be helpful if I framed a little bit of the discussion, so I could share a little bit of
Let's
the
go.
again, and
Frame
then
it.
let's chat, and then we can go into like really specific. I've lined up some things to show that of how I'm using AI, how you can use AI. Okay, so just for a little context, I was a social worker before starting in the industry, so a lot of that's where I'm coming from, the psychology of money piece. I'm looking at how we build empathy, and a lot of the practices that I used to use with other social workers and healthcare workers and all of that just are now so practical, and where we really need to learn and emphasize how we listen to others, how we again show up as ourselves. So and then one other thing is, before I'm getting started, a lot of the data that I'm sharing was just published, let's see, like a little over a month ago, in our 2025 financial literacy report that First Home IQ published, sponsored by National MI. So anyway, if you want to check that out and get a bunch of the data, some of it is in here, but you can go to firsthomeIQ.com/2025 report and download the report and slides that you can use in presentations too.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, hopefully you could capture this right now. And if not, we'll put a link in the housing dot link, link. There'll be that master link down below, and a link to this will be in there.
And one of the most surprising data points from that report was, and I guess it's not surprising, but it's just interesting to see how much things have changed in just a few months. I mean, you think about in January, where we were with using ChatGPT, 43% of Gen Z said they were using ChatGPT to learn about home buying. And in August, that jumped to 68%. So I can imagine by now it's even higher. We're going to continue to, I would assume, really in the next couple of months, be up in the 80%.
Hey, Kristen, real
Yeah.
quick, I want to pause on that because I saw a report from NAR. And actually, if you could stop sharing real quick, let's fireside chat this because this was a takeaway from the IMB summit, or gosh, why do I keep calling that the MBA summit? But that 82% of buyers are prompting AI first when it comes to showing up. Now, that's a NAR stat. And when I saw it, I'm just like, there's no way. And then I thought, well, maybe they're including like Google, and now Google is basically chat. But what are your thoughts where the NBA is saying like literally 82% of people are using AI when shopping, buying a home? Any thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I was gonna look that up because someone shared that with me a couple days ago, and it just doesn't surprise me. That's why I think that we'll be there if we're not already. Because just a couple months ago we were almost at 70%. So I do think that people like ChatGPT and AI assistants are the new Google, and maybe they are including Google as well. But it's easier and better, more effective to just go into AI where they know that they're aggregating a bunch of information. So yeah,
Yeah, and I put a few things in chat. One, I just put an actual quote from it. And then I actually integrated this into my conversation with executives at the MBA, where I literally asked every single executive that I met with. I mean, maybe I missed one or two, but over 30 people that I had like sit downs with, like what percentage of home buyers do you think are using AI? And it was anywhere from maybe 20% to everybody to 50%. But everybody, even the ones that said it was like 20-ish percent, were like, it's going to be 100%. Like everybody realizes that home buyers, by the way, homeowners are using AI, and real soon it's going to be 100% of them. So one of the things that I talked about a lot was the point of credit is the point of profit. And so whether it is the conversation you have before you actually run the credit matters more than ever. And then the conversation you have after you run the credit matters more than ever. And how are you using AI? And how are you like helping the people that you touch, the realtors you touch, the buyers you touch, use AI in a way that helps you be more valuable. By the way, most loan officers aren't thinking about that. Most loan officers aren't doing that. So start thinking of the point of credit is the point of profit. And what are you doing pre-credit? What are you doing post-credit? And how are you training buyers and realtors to use AI?
Well, I
All
think
right.
it's really interesting, Dave. Did anyone mention the fact that now inside of ChatGPT that there's a Zillow app, so you can type Zillow in ahead of your search and it pulls all the Zillow stuff in. So I believe that's going to give them a competitive advantage for the people who use Chat. Obviously, it seems to me like Chat's the leader out there. I know we are big fans of Perplexity here in our community. And then you've got Claude and Anthropic, and you've got Gemini and all these other people out there all fighting for it. Google's been so dominant, but it's going to be interesting to see how these integrations inside of AI impact everyone in the industry.
Well, I just think
Yeah.
even if you zoomed out and you look at the overall search, like of just human behavior, I think if you ask, regardless if it's home buying or not, a lot of people, their first instinct is to go straight to chat and ask chat versus just what used to be Google or maybe talking to your parents about something. I mean, my kids were asking me something in the car and I was like, hey, I used the voice with chat and I had a conversation with Chat GPT all while I was driving using voice and everybody could hear it at the same time. Now, doesn't mean that it's always true, which is the issue, but whatever was most documented was the answers that I was getting.
Yeah. And Todd, the answer to your question on the Zillow came up in a few conversations where I was really nerding out with people, but no one was really feeling like, what, like everything is going to be an AI. So it's like everything is going to be AI enabled, everything's going to be in there. And, everybody does believe like we need to up our game. By the way, guys, I put a few cut and paste quotes because I'm writing a LinkedIn article that I'm going to post, Monday or Tuesday. And I copy and pasted a few of the thoughts. But, the one I like is that, where is it here? Whoever brings the most understanding earns the most trust and the most margin. Like we're not in a price war, we're in a clarity war. So anyways, check it out. It's in here. So back to you, Kristin. I know I cut you off at a point you were in the flow.
Yeah, no, I mean, great discussion. So, one thing that I think is important to think about, like as everybody is searching AI and does have access, and yes, to Deborah's point, like it's not always true. I mean, you have to push back. There's a lot of evidence showing that, or I guess like problems around that. But for the most part, it's very true. There's a lot of accurate information too, and so I think we have to recognize that right now we're in a world where we're coming from loan officers being the expert and holding that information, holding that knowledge, to moving into AI being where they like knowledge is no longer the differentiator. And I think you can there's especially if you're using MortgageCoach and things like that, that's where you're going to have an edge. Because they're still going to ChatGPT and then feeling overwhelmed. But I feel like the idea that you're the holder of all the information is not the current reality, and definitely not the future. Thoughts on that before I move on? I feel like that could be
Yeah, no, keep it
okay.
rolling. I would push you guys. Feel free to do some prompts, like just hearing the conversation we're having. I threw into chat, who are the top 5 loan officers in Lake Oswego, Oregon? Just kind of thinking about the conversation that we're having here. Like, do you know how AI thinks about you? Put in AI. What do you know about Dave Savage? Well, don't do me, put your name. But like, hey, what do you know about Dave Savage with Mortgage Coach? Like, do you know what AI is saying about you? So keep it
We're
rolling.
doing at First Home IQ, we're doing an office hours for our ambassadors next week that Katie Shive is running, that she's going to talk about how to show up in AI search results. So if anyone on this call does want to join that, I'm happy to give you guys the RSVP link for that too. But
Whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute. Like everybody, whether you watch this on video, you must show up for that. Katie is a complete rock star. Uh, she has helped me dramatically improve my authenticity so that when I put things into AI, like it's my brand, it's my voice, it includes my code. So follow her on Instagram. Is it Hey Katie?
I don't know
Yeah.
what it is.
Yes.
Hey,
Okay.
Deborah, if you could forward her Instagram in
Yes,
chat,
I will.
and Kristin will get you guys a sign up for that with Katie, but you're blowing it if you don't show up for that.
Cool. It's typically a closed event for ambassadors, but I'll get the RSVP link and send that out. So I would love to have any of you on the call. So
Cool.
um, okay, so just kind of skipping along here. Um, One thing that I was emphasizing in this conversation was just how AI can be a substitute. It can be something where you're like offloading your job in a lot of ways, because it's like, okay, you can go here for information, all of that. Or even your emails. I mean, I talk about using AI to improve your emails, but if you are just substituting everything, then you are going to be replaced. However, if you use AI as an amplifier so that you are able to show up in your full humanity, that is where I think there's a big opportunity. And so AI shouldn't be replacing relationships. It should remove the friction that keeps you from showing up authentically. So that's kind of like the big theme here around what it means to use AI authentically in this conversation anyway. So just I'm going to run through these really quickly, but I do feel like this context is important and it will lead into a way that I think you can use AI to better understand today's market too. So a lot of the research that I've done over the past few years, I've surveyed over 8,000 millennial and Gen Z, and trust has become a huge part of the conversation. I mean, we've seen every single year people reduce like the trust declining in how they approach or feel related to loan officers. Over on average, over the last 5 years, 2 in 3 next-gen homebuyers said they did not think lenders were trustworthy or reliable. However, that has decreased to 2 in 5 now this year. So, but we're seeing trust decline across all industries. So you just think about like the cultural moment we're in. People no longer feel that they can trust media, technology, healthcare, across the board. And there's been some big cultural moments part of that are big kind of shocks to, I think, consumers and feeling like they no longer have that trust. So you think about the loss of holding the education, holding the trust. And so people are turning towards like people like me. So this kind of peer-to-peer revolution where people started turning towards influencers. So they're going to well, actually, I'm going to come back to that. TikTok. I mean, 41% of Gen Z say they trust influencers for home buying information. 71% turn to TikTok for home buying information. So that has been a huge part of, this cultural moment. But they're also turning to not just influencers, but people in their own situation. So they're going to Reddit, they're going to Facebook groups. They're looking for, again, like the people like me. So we're in kind of a rewiring of what authority means. It's no longer about knowledge being held by a title or an institution, and it has turned towards looking for authenticity and value. So you can see how that leads into AI, where people have turned to looking for people like me, and now they have the ability to be empowered. And so this is turned from like now they're distrusting, there's discernment there. They have unlimited access to information and unlimited access to peers. And as a result, that's amazing in a lot of ways. Like you are giving power back to the consumer. I think that's incredible. However, we're also seeing a huge amount of overwhelm and delayed decisions. So over half of next-gen homebuyers said that they feel overwhelmed by financial information, and over half are delaying important financial decisions as a result. So to me, this says this is the huge opportunity, right? I mean, this is where we come into where the empathy advantage exists. You are in a market where there's infinite information, but trust is not there. So overwhelm is the number one barrier, and empathy is what is going to convert. So that's kind of what I wanted to frame the discussion around. AI, and we can get into this, but AI is where we see automation, analysis, efficiency, content generation, and being human and building that empathy is where you have creativity, you have nuance, you have trust, meaning making, and empathy. So I'm going to pause there, but then we can get into some of the specifics on how I think how I'm using AI, how I'm teaching people to use AI to build that authenticity and empathy.
So I've done a lot of talking. So, Deborah, Todd, let's go.
I did drop in the chat the realtor.com survey that you had mentioned, Dave, and then also someone had asked like what were the exact prompts that people were using. And guys, these are all things you could literally ask Perplexity. I like to use Manus AI, or you could use chat, but these are things that on a like weekly basis that I would be asking search engines, what are the most frequently asked questions today's home buyers are asking, or refinance. That way that creates your content ideas for the next week, because we really need to get good and get better at helping people not only with the information, but how do you ensure that they're making the best decision for them? And I think that's where the fear comes in, and that paralysis by analysis is people wonder, okay, I have this information, but how do I know what's best for me? Is this the right decision? And until they feel security and confidence around that, which is where you come in, that is where experience can trump just the output of a chat prompt.
Well, one thing that doesn't surprise me is that people are turning to TikTok for information just because I've got children, and that's where my children send me stuff all the time that they think I should know. And so I think it's just something that we need to think about, right? Where are we putting ourselves out there to become known and influencers? And then the other thing I think that is, sort of, to kind of pile on the why first home IQ is I can tell you in conversations that I've had, I did 50 annual reviews this year, or maybe actually probably more than that now, probably closer to maybe 70 or 80. And one of the things I love telling people is that I'm an ambassador for First Home IQ and that we go out and teach financial literacy in high schools and colleges. And the bridge of trust I get is so fast from that. And so, those of you who've been on sort of the fence of, hey, is this First Home IQ thing for me? Just there, I think if you get on where Kristin's talking about a lack of trust in our industry, it's amazing the conversations that I've had. Matt Baker, my business partner, is an ambassador, and he said when he uses that in an initial conversation with a parent who mentions that they've got a young kid or with somebody who's younger, that it builds immediate trust. So just something to consider is how are you showing up to in that conversation to build that relationship. And, maybe it's First Home IQ way for you to have that extra trust. And I'm wearing my new First Home IQ shirt. Thanks, Kristin.
Yes, it looks great. Yeah,
I
I
love
love
the
that.
black.
Yeah. I love the, I mean, where if you build partnerships in your community, if you show up representing a nonprofit or representing even just education, saying, I'm here to teach, I'm not here to drive sales, that is where you're going to see a lot of results because people need to feel like they can trust you before they can listen to you. So, yeah, I love that. And actually, Deborah, what you were talking about, this is so perfect because I brought an empathy mapping exercise that I want to show everyone how I've been gathering information about the market that everyone can do to then generate your own content. So if that's cool, I'll walk through that exercise here. Okay. So, and I'll share this too. I think I have it in a slide, but I just started doing this one. So this is if you copy paste this, it's return a list of Reddit thread URLs discussing frustrations with buying your first home, or if you want to talk about something else, prioritizing results that describe the borrower experience. And then what's really important here is please return these as raw URLs because that is going to help you copy paste this here in a second. So you just take this and copy it, and then put that into ChatGPT. I think I've got it pulled up here. Oh no, that's blank here. Okay, let me grab this real quick because I want to show you guys the way that I approached that. Well, actually, I'll show you a different example because I was playing around with this with financial literacy. So I was asking about frustrations with understanding personal finance and home buying. So this is what then it returned over to me, a bunch of Reddit URLs. And so then I could go into, go into here, pull up a new notebook, and I'll show you how you do that. And then under website, you just paste those in there. And then that is going to immediately give you all of those as sources. So it's super, super fast, super easy. And then you can ask it anything. So you can go in and use that same exercise. If you go further, analyze the provided sources, blah, 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 what consumers think, feel, and do. And then you can paste that in there, and it's going to give you a bunch of information about consumers. And it's really then helpful. You can take that and write from there. So I pasted in based on these insights into Claude. I copied and pasted the results there. It's just taking a minute. This is why I didn't want to do it live because on Zoom it takes forever to do anything. But anyway, so what I pasted those results in here and asked for what's a good topic to write about my audience based on the insights I've gathered from Reddit. And so then it gives me a bunch of topic ideas, and then you can keep going from there. So I have a process that I'm following through like for article writing or essay writing. And part of it is just research and understanding. But you can follow something very similar. So you use an empathy mapping exercise, or I have a running list of topics that I want to pull from. And then you can take that information and say, okay, I'm going to write on that topic, like I just showed. And then I've created a project in Claude that helps me with gathering research information. So I was working on that, and I asked it, hang on, here's some I chose the topic alternative strategies to budgeting. And so then I asked in the project in Claude, I have it programmed to, let's see, to give me topics or give me research that are prioritizing recent developments, also longer term, and including, I give it some pretty specific things that I want out of this research. Number of podcast episodes, articles, reports, academic. I want to make sure these are not paywalled, and then, here's what I want from that research: an executive summary, what's new, blah, 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 risks and debates, and then the bibliography, all of that. So you're getting some pretty high quality results from that. And that's where then I've got all of this information that then I can take this and even take the URLs from this, like all of these, and put that into Notebook LM and have that create a podcast for me, or help me just kind of process that information. So I'm going into synthesizing the ideas in Notebook LM. And then I want to free write my thoughts on the topic. So I've also created a project in Claude to help me with just kind of journaling through what I'm learning. So I have it like, this is your reflective partner, blah, blah, blah. And I'm getting into details here. I don't need to, but I just want to kind of briefly show you my process, and then we can come back to any of this. But the idea is that, because one of the problems is that we put a lot onto ChatGPT or whatever, and then we're not actually learning anything, or we're not processing the information. It's cognitive offloading is the term. So having that time, and then I ask Claude to help me synthesize the ideas that I've gathered from research, from my free writing, my personal thoughts, into a draft. From there, and I've got that programmed with what I want that to look like. And then I'm writing a draft without AI, and then having AI help with the edits. But one other thing, I'll share the empathy mapping exercise, but you can just do that on your own, and that's it. But going through this process, you can also then help it understand what output you're looking for. So you can attach things to instructions in your projects, so that you say like, hey, these are the top social posts that I've gathered or done, on these subjects. This is what I want the ultimate output to look like. And I know you guys have had AI experts on talking about this kind of stuff, so I won't go into too much detail. But let's say, for essay, or let's say a webinar playbook, I've got examples of what the webinar playbooks, I want them to look like. You do a great job with that. And then here's the instructions, and you can put that information in there so that that's what it's creating. So anyway, that's kind of a like longer form empathy mapping into the content creation, but wanted to share that.
So guys, I wanna put a bookmarker of what you just heard is how Kristin Messerli talks to AI. Because while everybody has AI, not everybody is talking to AI in the same way. They're not using the same prompts. They're not, personalizing and authentically adding things. They're not being as strategic. And you just got to see how like a total pro is doing it. And I don't know enough about Claude to say that, hey, what she did in Claude, you can do in chat. I've done a lot of what Kristin's done in chat, by the way, with the coaching help of Katie Shive. She has helped me do a lot of what Kristin just did in chat. And then she's also taught me how to like if anyone's following, first of all, if you're not following the Uncommon LO, follow the Uncommon LO. But like I created a project within chat so that literally I can take one of those videos and put a really simple prompt. And then whenever you look at the writing, I've definitely added to it as a human. Like I don't just throw it into chat, copy, paste, post it. There's some things like removing the dashes, making it our voice, using my 40 years of mortgage IQ to tell it, taking away some key phrases that everybody's kind of sick of hearing, like, this isn't theory, like removing some of those like common AI phrases and then posting it. But Kristen, without getting too nerdy on Claude, because you've used chat really extensively, and then I remember you were using Claude, then you stopped using Claude, and then it looks like you're back on
Yeah,
Claude.
I know.
I would love to know the why.
Yeah, I've been going through an AI course with this guy, Blazing Zebra, that I've been following forever. He's fantastic. And
Blazing Zebra. Like,
yeah,
is he a DJ at
so
like a
I
cool
need to up
club?
my name.
I want that name.
but he is all about Claude right now. And I just absolutely like I've started, that's why I don't have a ton of projects in there because I just started transitioning that. But it's so good. And I will always have ChatGPT because of or at least always right now because of the memory. Like it knows me really well. But Claude, the output is so incredible. Just to show you really quick. So I took the top AI videos from this mastermind that you guys do. I took it from the channels, put it into Notebook LM, did kind of like what are the best practices from AI leaders. So I copied that over to the webinar playbook project, and I just copied that in and said create a playbook. And this is the playbook. It's like
Cheater.
fantastic. So I'll send this to you guys so you guys can use this. But
Oh,
isn't
dude.
that
Girl.
incredible? I mean, it's
Yeah, that is
really good.
crazy.
But do you
Yeah.
see
Mind
how when
blowing.
you don't go through the struggle and the process of learning, this is where comprehension and being able to retain the information is the struggle, especially with the youth, because we have access to things. And part of the journey of learning is to struggle and to formulate and be able to critically think. So I've been reading this book called How AI Changes Your Customers, and they interviewed 300 futurists on where are we going to be in 2035 and how's this going to impact humans and just the workforce. And I highly recommend, if you guys are into AI, reading that book. It was fantastic.
Would you put a link down below? Remember, guys, I promised at the beginning, you will be smarter, you will be better, and you will have a competitive advantage. Now, by the way, being on this call, hearing everything that you're hearing doesn't give you a competitive advantage, doesn't make you smarter. It's edutaining. It's like taking, and Todd at the end will close it out with like win by noon, taking action steps, like literally taking action on things that you're learning is going to give you a competitive advantage.
Well, I don't want to
So,
spoil it, but I took action and I came up with my alternative. I asked Perplexity for an alternative name to Blazing Zebra, and I'm leaning towards the Velvet Coyote right now.
Ooh,
Gave me
oh,
gave me lots of options, but I think I could become the Velvet Coyote. I'm going to write that one down.
that's,
Um,
I like
but
it.
I do want to say one
this
of the
is
things I
getting
really liked,
fun.
Kristen, when you kind of walked us through your process was the fact that you've got a built-in process for actually thinking yourself. Because my kids tell me I can't use AI because it's going to make me dumb, and so the fact that you're actually forcing yourself to go in and think through what you're learning, I think that was a really big takeaway. Besides the fact that you've got this crazy process, which I'm now going to dig in more on.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a big part of this conversation around authenticity and AI. I mean, we can't offload everything or else we are going to become stupid. Like it's just, we don't learn anything by just saying, "Hey, write this article about this thing." You're not actually processing it if you're not doing some work in there. And I also think this idea, they call it human in the loop, if you completely offload it to AI, it doesn't come across authentically to your consumer. And they're, even if they're really good at, creating the output, there's something missing from that connection. And I will say, I get a lot of emails written by AI, and I write a lot of emails in part. But if you don't feel the connection on top of it, even if it is fully written, I think if you are doing something like, I like to record my calls, right now I'm using Otter. There's tons of things out there, but if you put that into, let's say, a project and say write a follow-up email based on this conversation, at least from there you're getting some really specific, like, or even, I mean, I want to create a proposal based off of this, this conversation. You're getting really personalized, and that personalization, the authenticity, and the human in the loop, meaning like you're really involved in that process, is so key to the authenticity piece.
So, Kristin, I've got a few things I want to share, but I want to make sure that call it the key things, the key slides that you want to get covered over the next 10-ish minutes. I need about 3 or 4 minutes to share a few AI things I want to in terms of AI authenticity. But and we got to leave time for Todd to close it out. But what else do you want to make sure gets shared?
Well, I skipped a lot of things. I tried to just kind of, I showed you my process, but I'll just walk through a couple of things. So in the workshop that I do, I use this kind of thing called Care, Care with AI, and these are components of using AI in an authentic way. So one thing I talk about before going into that is, and I know Dave uses this as well, but WhisperFlow AI, incredible. It just allows you to use voice to text in a really easy way. So it makes the voice, it shows up without a bunch of errors like voice to text often does. So love that.
Hey, time out. I got to pile on that. So
Okay.
two different people told me about this. Kristin told me first, and Brian Covey told me second. But guys, this is game changing. Either Kristin or I will put a link over here. I'm pretty sure I have well, I want to give Kristin a chance because I think there's an affiliate link. Do you
Oh,
know about that, Kristin?
I don't. I share it so
Okay, well
much.
then
I
you don't get
should.
to know. Then I'll share it with you guys.
Oh my God.
Uh, I think you save some money and I save some money if you use it. Since Kristin didn't know about it, I'll forward it to you. But I do recommend, not because I'm giving you an affiliate link, but because it's badass. Like,
It's also
you
free
talk
for a
it
long
right,
time.
and it's super accurate. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I would never respond to emails on my phone because I just felt like constrained, but now I can do it. So it's just, yeah, it's great. Um, and it is free for a long time. So you also don't need to pay anything for quite a while. Okay, so then a couple things, just using AI to kind of brain dump, instant organization. For me, having ADHD, this has been so insanely helpful. I forget everything. And so I'm learning how to make sure that I'm using projects really effectively. So you saw my projects in Claude, and how I was typing in instructions. I also ask ChatGPT, like, hey, I want to create a project, and help me on this topic. Oh, and by the way, projects are good for anything that's repeatable. So if you are, constantly sending an email or like a proposal or a social media post, whatever that is, and you can show, here's examples of what is good and here's the instructions, that's what this is awesome for. But even thinking about like random things, this is why I had plants pulled up. So I started using this for like recognizing and helping my plants. So I put in some instructions, like if I send you a plant photo, tell me about it and tell me what it needs. So here's, it gives me tips, whatever. But anyway, you can use projects for absolutely everything. I use it also for scheduling, like getting me to the airport on time. Like I need, so idea generation, all of that. But that's all part of this, like, put it here, help me organize it. Oh, and what I was going to say is I asked ChatGPT to send me what good instructions should look like for that project. So I'm like, I don't, ask it to help you with the prompting. And then analyze and anticipate. I have, for the first time in August, I've tried using AI in the past to actually do data analysis and for the next gen homebuyer reports, and it's never done it correctly. It hallucinates all the time. And in August, for the first time, Claude was actually the best. I tested Claude, Perplexity, and ChatGPT. I think there was one other, but yeah, so it was able to do it. It's really, really good at the complex analysis. It actually is less great, I'm finding right now, at the really basic stuff, like getting me to the airport on time. It kept giving me instructions to get there 30 minutes late. And I was like, I just told you what time I need to be there. So anyway, just again, back to the like, you always got to be testing it. But also analyzing voice for this is where you can build in empathy. Like if you give it a call transcript, or in Notebook LM you can give YouTube videos, but it, ask it like, where was their hesitation, what kind of anxiety showed up. And a big thing here on your calls, if you are recording them, is make sure you're asking for those pain points. And this is where your personal practice of empathy shows up. I love reflective listening, but always ask, what is it that keeps you up at night about this? And then dig into that. Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is this, and then they can correct you or add on to that. But that allows you to capture that and be able to really effectively follow up with that. So I showed you how I use Notebook LM, just a really fantastic software for that kind of analysis and for deep dives into specific subjects. So one of the things we talked about, Deborah was talking about, of like things not being totally accurate with Notebook LM. If you're putting in the sources, so you've had ChatGPT or whatever help you identify some really credible sources quickly, then you can put those into your Notebook LM, like I did with the AI scripts. But even, let's say, like I was looking at AI and empathy, I put in some things here, and then I can have it create some reports for me, or a video overview, or an audio podcast. So it's generating a 15-minute or 40-minute podcast that helps you with that learning. So, and then you can ask that questions. And then reflection, we talked a little bit about that, and how one thing I would add to the Oh, I didn't talk about this. So context engineering is a whole thing in AI. But this is where, again, creating more authenticity with the way that you use AI happens by really digging into, like, providing more context. So if you say, like, giving it examples of the output. So with any prompt, even if it was something really short, like, help me write an email to this client. Then give it a couple examples, and then you'll see a result that is going to show up a lot more like you. So, okay, so I think that covers just a few of the things that I thought would be really helpful to share. This is where I got into the empathy mapping, but really thinking about how you use AI at scale, but doing it in an authentic way. So,
So guys, we could go for hours with Kristin, and I have a feeling we're gonna bring her back for more of this more often. If you're getting value from this, give us a little reaction, whatever reaction, we've got over 50 people in Zoom, whatever you want to let her know, so that we have her back. And Kristin, clearly you're giving more value in First Home IQ than ever before. I mean, you're helping people help first-time home buyers, but now with you and Katie being these Jedi masters with AI, I mean, you're really teaching people how to use AI in education and marketing. I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think what excites me again about AI is the ability to just to grow your connections. So we're working on ways to add more presentations, more education materials, but then also the way that we're able to scale that a little bit, we're also able to help people with building connections in their community. Because that's where, if you're showing up in your kid's school or your church or your, wherever you're plugged in your community, and you're able to just, very effectively and quickly provide education, you're building trust in a way that I think is really meaningful, going beyond just a digital context.
Yeah, you're going beyond just a loan officer. I mean, you're a real value in your community. So what is the best way for folks that want to, one, learn more about First Home IQ, whether they want to just access the free content to use it in their marketing in communities or whether they want to, dig in and become part of the community. How do they do that?
So if you go to firsthomeIQ.com/industry, and we are updating our website right now, so we've had a few issues. So let me know if it doesn't work. But there's a link that says join the community, and that's where you can just freely access a lot of our materials. And we have a whole industry section in there. And so you can jump in. Oh, yeah, perfect. And then if you go, scroll down a bit, there's a whole industry section. Sorry, on the left side. Scroll down. Yeah, no, further. Yeah, there's industry professionals. That's where if you go to free resources, there's presentations in there. There's a bunch of resources. And then those IQ courses too. We have a lot of content in there, and that's what you can send that information to or dig into it and create your own content from that. So definitely make use of that.
Yeah, and if you just like for me, first home IQ/Dave Savage, and if you want to have your own page, let Kristin know. But like one, you could take the quiz here, and that's huge value, and you can use it as a lead magnet. But to me, what I love, I love the fact that it's a lead magnet, but guys, like this is the tip of the spear where if you gave this to a teacher, you gave this to someone in your local community, you're delivering, some of the best free content around growing your money mindset, how to make a financial plan, how to do a budget. Like it's free. And it could all be from your personally branded, your picture, you're capturing the leads, and then tell them, hey, you can just click on demand learning, and boom, this is designed for teachers, parents, and folks. So guys, check it out. Never been more valuable. Um, so one thing before I hand it back to Deb and Todd, because I want to make sure, like we're learning how to use AI, and I want to make sure everyone who is a mortgage coach on this knows how to do a AI-driven pre-approval. So let's see. There it is. So first of all, I put a link in Zoom. Click on that link right now. So there's a little link in Zoom. It says here's an AI-enabled pre-approval. Go click on that right now, everybody. And you're going to see something like this. So first of all, I want to remind you guys all that no more powerful way than to be able to just give people options. If I wanted to reduce it from 4 options to 3 options, I could quickly and easily do that. I could remove the refi option. It's right here. But I want to remind you guys, you got to give your buyers prompts, and you got to teach them how to use the AI within the platform. Like for pre-approvals, it's not uncommon. What's the best cash to close option? Like you got to let customers based on their needs as you give them the report, whether it's a move up analysis, whether it's purchase options, whether it's a rate and term refi, teach them, give them a couple prompts, but you want them in your AI. You don't like, are they going to use Claude? Are they going to use chat? Yes, they're going to use all these things. But the more value you can do within your prompt, the beauty is you're going to know what they're thinking and what they're doing. Like when I was at Sales Mastery, loan officers were coming up to me going, I love that because now I know what questions they're asking and I'm able to provide more proactive service. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware of that feature. You know how to use it. It's even a great talking point with realtors to let them know that, hey, I am an extension of your sales process. I'm going to get people from confused to confident, and look at how I'm delivering value and advice to them to get them off the fence and into escrow. So check it out. Andrew, you did not know about it? Oh, you're aware of it. Didn't know how to use it. By the way, tomorrow, every Wednesday, we're doing today's Friday.
I was
On
going to say
Wednesday,
tomorrow's Saturday.
yeah, no, on Wednesdays, we do live training. So check it out on our website. So Deborah, anything you want to say before Todd, goes into some win by noon close?
Just that I think sometimes it can be very overwhelming, especially when you're starting to study AI, because there's new tools and things come out every single day. Um, But to go back to being the most human person that you can be and be the youest you, I think we've got to get back into our hyper local markets and be the human connector. I was telling Kristen right before this call that the purchase of board games has recently drastically gone up, and the younger demographics are investing in time called unplugging, where they have seen the value of just, okay, no devices, no technology. We're going to get a group together and we're going to play board games just for mental health and being able to feel present and not this anxiety of, always learning something in different colors and flashing. And so I just really encourage you all, yes, take the time to learn the tools so that you can show up and be more present, but also what is your game plan? What is your strategy to actually connect with your community and the people that you've even already served? Do you have a long-term strategy to nurture those relationships? Because we have to build that brick wall around them. And are you showing up as the most valuable person to them, where the value may need to change? It may not be information in classes and that's just going over how-tos. Maybe it's about bringing community and supporting a cause like feeding the homeless, or heck, maybe teaching a class on how you could help families who have multiple children, like run a more efficient home just between school and the workflow. So it's think outside of just always being in that cookie cutter space of mortgage, and be that 5 mile famous or digital mayor of your hyper local community.
Hey, Todd.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I was on a mastermind on Zoom with some real estate agents yesterday, and that's ironically what they were talking about. That's been the biggest business builder for them. One of the agents on there, she's not your typical agent. She is the mother of one of the other agents that my team works with, who leads the call. And she said her biggest lead generator this year was gardening. That she said gardening was always her personal free time, where she did it for her own personal therapy, and that inviting others to do gardening with her has been her number one source of lead gen. And they just talked about all the things, right? The guy who coaches Little League said, actually, I don't want to coach anymore. I want to be in the stands so I can mingle. It's finding these other ways to be part of a community. So I think, my action plan for you all is check out First Home IQ. I mean, Kristen kind of showed you all the free resources that we have that are available there. But I think it's just one of these opportunities for you to dig in deeper. My mind is always blown away whenever I get around Deborah and Dave and Kristen, three of the smartest people that I know, especially as we go down this path of AI, where I've committed to spend an hour a day going forward to learn about AI and working in AI. So that'll be a little bit of a combination of the two. And I would just encourage you to think about, what does your action plan need to be, and how do you need to commit time to be learning these things? Because you're sitting here saying, oh my gosh, I'm blown away. But what I find is that most people in a week and a month, you're going to see, oh my gosh, I'm blown away, and you've done nothing between now and then to learn about it. And if you believe it's going to change the future of your business, and if you believe it's going to change the future of your family and what your friends and your kids and everyone is doing, you've got to invest time into it. I think probably an hour is more than most people need. But what about if you just invested 15 minutes, right? This little amount in there. Block your calendar for 30, but just say, I'm going to go in and do a deep dive for 15 minutes to get better, and then guess what? Oh my gosh, you got momentum. You're going down that rabbit hole, staying there for 30 minutes. But I think it's a great opportunity if you really don't want to be left behind. I think there's no better time than today to get going. So as always, fun hanging out with the three of you, fun hanging out with all of you who are here engaging. Loved all the interaction here in the Zoom chat. And thanks for those of you watching in YouTube as well. What you
And for
got,
the
Dave?
people that asked, like, hey, I want to learn how to do rate and term refis with Mortgage Coach, I want to remind you, like, bookmark this, trustengine.com/10x. I literally update this every month. And right now we're showcasing Jeremy and Andy Zeman. Three things that are just consistent. Follow the Uncommon LO daily videos, follow this YouTube channel, weekly content. If you want to work on your code, your beliefs, your values, make sure you're following Savage, the Savage Code. And then these are two videos. So the person that posted, I would watch these two videos because they're going to talk about how to win with realtors and how to win with refis. And if it doesn't cover everything you need, just, if you're with a company that has this built into their tech stack, let your manager know. And then we're doing training every single Wednesday, And by the way, all the resources are on that page. At the very bottom, there's a link where you can sign up for a live training and get access to everything you need. Guys, this is a wrap. Kristen,
All right.
Kill.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank
Have a
you.
nice-
Have a great weekend, everybody. Go Broncos.